Hello and welcome to day 3. It's Marina here, and this week we are talking about love traps in romantic relationships. On day 1, we explored mixed signals and the emotionally unavailable person. On day 2, we looked at accepting crumbs and why the bare minimum can begin to feel like love. Today, we are going to talk about what happens when someone gives you something even more powerful than affection. They give you a future. They speak about the life you could have together. They tell you how different things will be. They give you something beautiful to hold on to. But the present never truly changes. This is something called future faking. What is future faking? Future faking is when someone uses promises or versions of the future to create closeness, reassurance, or commitment in the present without taking meaningful steps towards making that future real. They may speak about living together, getting married, traveling together, introducing you to their family, starting a business together, moving somewhere new, becoming emotionally available when life is less stressful, finally committing once a particular problem has been resolved. The promise may be very specific. When work calms down, I will have more time for us. Once I have dealt with my past, I will be ready. Next year, everything will be different. I can see us growing old together. You are the person I want, I'm just not ready yet. And when you ask direct questions, they will say, soon. And because the words are so clear, you assume there must be an intention behind them. But weeks become months, months become years. The future keeps moving further away, and the relationship remains exactly where it was. Not every broken promise is manipulation. It is important to say this clearly. Not every person who changes their mind is future faking. People can mean something when they say it and later discover that they cannot follow through. Circumstances can change, fear can appear, plans can fail, someone can disappoint you without deliberately manipulating you. Future faking becomes a pattern when promises are repeatedly used to secure your hope, patience, forgiveness, or continued investment. But meaningful actions does not follow. The question is not only did they mean it when they said it? The more useful question may be what has repeatedly happened after they said it? Because intention matters, but impact and behavior matters too. You may be attached to two relationships. One of the reasons future faking is so painful is that you may not be attached only to the relationship you actually have, you may also be attached to the relationship you were promised. There is the present relationship, the uncertainty, the waiting, the limited availability, the unanswered questions, the repeated disappointment, and then there is the imagined relationship, the home you might share together, the holidays you might take, the ordinary mornings together, the emotional closeness you believe will eventually come, the version of them who is finally ready, the version of you who is finally chosen. The imagined relationship can become more emotionally powerful than the real one. It gives meaning to your waiting. It tells you that the pain is temporary. It allows you to believe that everything you have invested will eventually make sense. So letting go does not feel like losing only a person, it can feel like losing an entire future. When words calm the pain temporarily, maybe you have tried to leave before. You told them that you could not continue living in the uncertainty. You said that you needed more. You began to withdraw. Then they said exactly what you had been waiting to hear. They told you that they loved you. They said they could see a future with you. They promised that things would change. For a moment, your body softened. The panic of losing the relationship eased. You felt safe to stay. But what created that relief? Was it a changed relationship? Or was it a promise about a future relationship? Words can calm you temporarily. They give your nervous system somewhere to rest. But if those words are not followed by consistent action, the calm does not last. Soon you're waiting again, watching again, wondering when the promised change will begin. The promise becomes another form of relief, but not a source of lasting emotional safety. But they sounded so sincere. Maybe they did sound sincere. They may even have been emotional when they said it. They may have cried. They may have seemed frightened of losing you. They may have described your future in extraordinary detail. And you believe them. Now you may feel embarrassed. You may ask, how could I have trusted them again? Why did I believe the same promise? Why am I so easily manipulated? But sincerity in a moment is not the same as capacity over time. A person may sincerely want the future they describe while being unwilling or unable to make the choices required to create it. They may want the comfort of imagining a future with you. They may want to believe that they are capable of becoming that person, But wanting a future and building a future are not the same thing. You did not believe them because you were foolish. You may have believed them because you love them, because the promise matched what you deeply wanted, because you assumed they would not speak so clearly about a future they had no intention of creating. You may have trusted their words because you would not make those promises lightly yourself. Trusting was not evidence of weakness, but now your task is to allow behavior to become part of what you trust. Potential can become a place to hide. You may see who this person could be. You see their warmth, you see their sensitivity, their intelligence, the moments when they are fully present. You know what they have been through. You understand why closeness may be frightening for them. And because you can see their potential so clearly, you may believe that loving them means waiting for that potential to appear. But potential is not a relationship. Potential cannot communicate consistently with you. Potential cannot follow through. Potential cannot repair harm. Potential cannot meet you in the present. You can believe that someone is capable of growth without making your life dependent on whether they choose to grow. Their responsibility does not have to become your waiting room. The moving finish line. Future faking often has a moving finish line. At first, change will happen when work becomes less stressful. Then it will happen after a family problem is resolved. Then, after they have had more time to heal. Then, after the next holiday. Then, next year. Or even sometimes it is just soon. There is always a reason why the relationship cannot move forward now. Some reasons may be genuine, life can be complicated. But if every obstacle is replaced by another obstacle, it may be time to look beyond the explanation and notice the pattern. Ask yourself, has the relationship actually moved forward, or has the explanation simply changed? You do not need to judge someone for having difficulties, but you are allowed to decide how long you will organize your life around the circumstances that may never change. When asking for evidence feels unloving, perhaps you feel guilty for wanting action. You may worry that asking for dates, plans, or consistency makes the relationship transactional. You may tell yourself, if I truly love them, I would trust them. If I ask for evidence, they will think I don't believe in them. If I give them an ultimatum, I might lose everything. But asking whether words and actions agree is not unloving. It is a part of emotional safety. Trust is not pretending that repeated disappointments did not happen. Trust grows when words are supported by behavior. You are allowed to ask, what does this promise look like in practice? What is the next real step? When will that step happen? What are you willing to do differently? And then you are allowed to notice what happens next. Do they respond with clarity and action, or do they offer another emotional conversation that leaves the practical reality unchanged? The promise may be keeping you from the present. A promised future can stop you from fully experiencing the present. You may postpone decisions, you may remain emotionally unavailable to other possibilities. You may put your own plans on hold. You may tolerate loneliness because you believe it is temporary. You may stop asking whether you are happy now. There is always another milestone ahead, another conversation, another chance, another reason to wait. But your life is not happening in the promised future. It is happening right now. Your time is passing now. Your needs exist now. Your loneliness is real now. The future deserves consideration, but it should not be used to erase your present experience. Day 3 reflection. Take a piece of paper and write down the future you were promised. Be specific. What did they say would happen? What did you imagine your life would look like? What have you been waiting for? Then create 3 headings. What was promised? What action followed? What remains unchanged? Look at what you have written without defending them and without blaming yourself. Then ask, if no future promises were made, what would the current reality of this relationship tell me? And one more question. Am I staying because of what exists or because of what I still hope will exist one day? You do not need to answer perfectly. You may feel grief, anger, embarrassment, shame, or resistance. It's all normal. Let the answers arrive slowly. This is not an exercise in punishing yourself for believing. It is an opportunity to bring the future and the present back into the same room. You may need to grieve what never happened. One of the hardest forms of grief is grieving something that felt real inside you but never became real around you. There may be no shared home to leave, no wedding to cancel, no official ending that other people would understand. But you may still be grieving years of imagined memories, a future version of yourself, the person you believed they would become, the moment when all your patience would finally be rewarded. The grief is real. You do not need to dismiss it because the future never happened. You emotionally lived towards it. You made choices around it. You loved inside it. You are allowed to mourn it. And if you feel like crying, cry it all out. If you believed someone's promises, please do not make your trust the villain of this story. You responded to the words, affection, and information you were given at the time. But you are allowed to take in new information now. You are allowed to notice the difference between a promise and a plan, between intention and action, between someone imagining a future with you and someone actively building one. Before you continue with your day, please place both feet on the floor. Take one deep breath in and gently remind yourself, I am allowed to honor what I hoped for. I am also allowed to see what is here now. I do not have to keep waiting for words to become a life. Tomorrow, we will explore the painful question, why am I so easily manipulated? So I gently ask you to subscribe so you don't miss anything important. Because we will look at how trust, empathy, and good faith can be used against you, and why being manipulated does not mean that you were unintelligent or weak. For today, be gentle with the part of you that believed. You were not foolish for wanting the future to be real, but you are allowed to choose your life in the present. I'm sending you so much love and light. But until tomorrow, speak soon.